The Mazda MX-5 is the world's most popular open-top sports car, but is it also the toughest? It's built a reputation for mechanical durability like no other, but how do you go about testing something like a car's toughness? Well, we thought the best way to find out was probably to do something stupid, grueling and unnecessary, which is why we've come to Iceland, the land of ice and fire. The plan is a pretty simple one. We're starting here, down in Reykjavik, and we're going to do the entire 800-mile snaking coastal road, all in this car. And you don't see a lot of convertibles here in Iceland, for a very good reason.
So now's probably a good time for me to explain why this is such a bad idea. The world might love the MX-5, but Icelanders certainly don't. There's only one Mazda dealer on the island, and in the entire time he's been in business, he's sold just 2 MX-5s. Driving around with the roof down is generally considered to be a rather strange activity. We've been attracting quite a lot of attention. A convertible here is a bit like turning up to a wet day at Glastonbury in a pair of open-toed sandals. People just kind of look at you funny.
So this is your typical Icelandic vehicle, or jeppe, which means Jeep. As you can see, it's got huge ground clearance, these massive wide monster truck studded tyres, 4-wheel drive, a big V8 engine, and these bull bars and fog lights. It is perfectly adapted to the environment in which it finds itself. And our Mazda MX-5 Icon Edition has absolutely none of those things. It's even on summer tyres, so as you can tell, this is a little bit fish out of water. But if it can work here, then surely that means it is the toughest roadster money can buy.
I think by now you should be starting to get the picture. The MX-5 is hardly first choice on most rental car lists here, but what it does have going for it is a compact body that's easy to drive on these narrow roads and bridges, summer tyres that slither around out of gravel car parks, and if we didn't feel conspicuous enough already, bright red decals and a body kit that are exclusive to the Icon Edition. Oh, and of course an open roof that is perfect for breathing in the hot sulphur fumes that spew from the earth at various points along the northern route. This north side of the island alternates between looking like wild Scotland, Hades and the surface of Mars, but the one constant was the very cold wind. Still, we were determined. We were going to have the roof down the whole journey.
Time for a status update. So we're 450 miles down, and yesterday we covered a huge chunk of the island, crossing lakes, waterfalls, lava flows and a smouldering mountain, and so far the MX-5 hasn't put a foot wrong. We had the roof down the whole way. It was a balmy for Iceland 8 degrees, but today might be a sterner test. We're going to be facing our first section of gravel road. There's a chance we could run out of fuel because it's much longer than yesterday, and worse still, we've run out of songs on our iPod, so we're stuck with the Icelandic radio. It's going to be fun.
I've been driving this car for hours now, and I just can't understand why it hasn't ever found a home here. There's a blanket 55-mile-an-hour speed limit right across the island in Iceland, and that means it's the perfect place for a sports car with just 1.5 litres and 129 brake horsepower, which has felt like more than enough, I promise you. You can have fun at safe speeds. The roads have been stunning with lots of long, well-sighted corners and twists and turns that are best enjoyed with a car with a rear-drive chassis, not some clumping great 4x4. And the best thing has been the epic scenery that's all around us. And what better way to see it than with the panoramic view afforded to us by having the roof off. We've been tackling our first section of gravel road now, but rather than being an obstacle or a hindrance, it's just made this car even more fun than it was before.
Okay, so I can see there are more practical vehicles than this one for doing this work, but I'm quite lucky enough to fit inside this. The seats are fairly supportive. Alright, there's not a lot of room for manoeuvre or any stuff, but you know, the whole thing feels sturdy. It feels like it's up for the abuse. It's able to withstand this sort of adventure. Because we've had the roof down the whole time, these heater vents have been an absolute lifesaver. They've been staving off the frostbite on my fingers, as have the heated seats.
This final part of the drive from the glacier at Jökulsárlón back to Reykjavik really was the best yet, with unbelievable scenery, black sand beaches and wet roads, so we had to concentrate. But we did get rather carried away with the handling and managed to run out of petrol, so the jerry can in the boot came in very handy indeed. We're not sure if you owned a supercar on this island what you'd run out of first, fuel or money. The on-the-spot speeding fines start at €600 and go up from there.
There is a serious side to this test though. As Ned Stark would say, winter is coming. And a few of you back home are probably thinking about just stashing your convertibles and roadsters away for the winter. But if this thing can cope out here, doing a lap of the whole island, then surely it's worth keeping it for a few extra weeks and going on an epic drive or two of your own.
Is the MX-5 the world's toughest two-seater? Well, the fact that it did this journey without a single bump, scrape, puncture or crack to show for it has to put it right up there. And having seen the smiles plastered on our faces as we drove round, perhaps there'll be a few more Icelanders in convertibles the next time we decide to visit.